Welcome back. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're gonna uncork history itself to look at the ancient drinks, the elixirs, that literally fueled entire civilizations, inspired myths, and defined what it meant to have power. You ready? Let's dive in.
So, have you ever really thought about it? What was in the cups of the most powerful people in history? I mean, really? We're about to find out. And trust me, these weren't just beverages. They were so much more.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the drinks that were pure, unadulterated power. I'm talking about the actual fuel for conquest, for survival, for entire armies on the march. A lot of these, you'll notice, are fermented. And really, all that means is that tiny little microorganisms like yeast get to work breaking down sugars. The result, you get these incredible flavors, sometimes a bit of alcohol, and it's a great way to preserve all those good nutrients.
Okay, now that is a bold claim, right? The drink that conquered the world with Genghis Khan. I mean, seriously, what kind of drink could possibly power one of the biggest land empires the world has ever seen?
Get this, the answer is kumis, and it's made from fermented mare's milk. Yeah, you heard that right. Just try to imagine a tangy, kind of fizzy, slightly alcoholic drink that's just packed with nutrients. For Mongol warriors who were always on the move, this wasn't some fancy treat, no way. It was their all-in-one energy drink, their multivitamin, and their water source. It was literally liquid fuel for taking over entire continents.
All right, let's leave the steppes of Asia and head north, way north, to the feasting halls of Valhalla. Close your eyes for a second. When you picture a massive Viking celebration, what's in their drinking horns?
Yeah, of course, it's meads. But this amazing honey wine wasn't just for warriors to chug after a successful raid. It was so much more. It was literally woven into the fabric of Norse and Celtic culture. I mean, it's all over their greatest stories, the sagas, hailed as the sacred drink for poets, for kings, and yep, even for the gods themselves.
Okay, for our last drink of strength, we're heading over to the Slavic heartlands. This one's a pretty humble brew, but it had one of the most important jobs you can imagine, keeping soldiers alive.
It's called kvass, and it's this low-alcohol drink made from fermented rye bread. Think about it. For hundreds of years, this was a safe, nutritious alternative when the local water could, kill you. And what's so cool is how its ancient job, just providing those vital nutrients, is the exact reason it's making this huge comeback in health stores today. It's all part of that modern, fermented is healthy trend.
All right, let's shift gears. We're moving away from the battlefield and into the temple. Now we're talking about elixirs of mystery. These are the drinks tied up in secrets, in spirituality, and even in the search for eternal life.
So imagine this. Hidden way up in the Himalayas, there were these whispers, legends of a special tea brewed by monks. A tea that supposedly held the secret to well-being, to a long, healthy life.
While that tea is called June tea. People sometimes call it the champagne of kombuchas, that fizzy fermented tea. This version is made with green tea and honey, and its origins totally shrouded in legend. It's deeply connected to the spiritual life and the whole quest for wellness inside those remote Tibetan monasteries. Okay, next stop, ancient Greece. We're going to one of the most famous and most secret religious ceremonies in all of history. And right at the very peak of this ritual, the initiates would drink a very special, very mysterious potion.
That drink was called kykeon. And you have to understand, for almost 2,000 years, these Eleusinian mysteries were the most important rituals in all of Greece. And the recipe for kykeon? It was their #1 most closely guarded secret. To this day, we still don't know for sure what was in it. All we know is that the people who drank it said its effects were life-changing.
So the secret of kykeon was kept so well that we might never crack the recipe. But what if a recipe wasn't just secret? What if it was completely lost? That brings us, my friends, to the ultimate mystery elixir, soma.
In the ancient holy texts of India, this was it. This was the drink of the gods themselves. It was said to grant immortality. But here's the thing. The plant at the heart of the recipe was lost thousands of years ago. We have no idea what it was. Scholars have argued about it for centuries, but the true identity of soma, it remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
Okay, for our last section, let's talk about status. We're going to look at drinks that weren't just about getting strong or connecting with the divine. These were about power, about social class. In these cultures, what you drank told everyone exactly who you were.
And our first status symbol comes from the Horn of Africa. It's a drink tied to one of the most powerful and legendary queens in all of history.
It's called tej. It's a unique kind of Ethiopian honey wine. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds a lot like mead, and it is similar, but here's the difference. For centuries, tej was basically for royalty only. Its whole history is wrapped up in the Ethiopian monarchy and that famous legendary story of the Queen of Sheba's visit to King Solomon.
Okay, now this next one is wild because it completely flips our modern ideas of status on their head. For the Aztecs, their sacred drink was called pulque, and the rules around it were incredibly strict. Get this, it wasn't for the young, healthy warrior. No, it was reserved for the elderly, for pregnant women, and for priests in the middle of rituals. If you were just a regular person and got caught drunk on it outside of a festival, it could literally be a death sentence. How crazy is that?
50 years. Just let that number sink in for a second. 50 years. Can you imagine a drink that's aged for half a century before it's even considered ready to drink? What on earth could be worth that kind of time?
Well, in Imperial China, the answer was royal pu'er tea. This wasn't just any tea. It was a unique fermented tea that was pressed into these dense cakes and then just left to age, sometimes for decades. And the longer it aged, the more complex and amazing its flavor became, and its value just went through the roof. A really, really old cake of pu'er wasn't just a drink, it was a symbol of incredible wealth. We're talking prices that could make gold look cheap.
All right, one last stop. Let's head down to the Andes Mountains. What do you think the most powerful empire in South America drank?
Their drink was chicha morada. It's this beautiful, totally non-alcoholic drink made from a special kind of purple corn. And it was a staple of life for the Inca, from the emperor all the way down to the regular farmer. What's amazing is how history has come full circle with this one. Chicha morada is now trending all over the world as a superfood, and people love it for that same incredible color and all of its health benefits.
So, you see, our drinks tell our story. They're like liquid history. They show what we value, who has power, and what we believe. And that just leaves us with one last question to chew on, right? Thousands of years from now, what are our lattes, our energy drinks, and our craft beers? What are they going to say about us? What story are we leaving behind in our cups?